Hello, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives Friday live chat with McDuff and Marcia. So, a lot to talk about. Let's go. Hello again. I am John O'Loughlin, and with me is Marcia.
Hello, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, if that is a better fit for where you are.
Yes, and if you're watching us in the middle of the night somewhere,
Good evening, good night. Although
And-
good night is more of a goodbye thing.
good to have you guys with us. As always, it's our Friday live chat here with Marcia. And, the last time we did this, there wasn't a war in the Middle East with us bombing people and sending rockets and missiles and destruction. And all of a sudden there is. And I was really just saddened and depressed when I learned that we were going to war again. It's almost inevitable, but in this case, I really have a serious question. What in the hell are we fighting for?
Right. Lot of different reasons being given. But yeah. What are we fighting for?
The gobbledygook that they say is just insulting to the American people. The only logical explanation is the one given by Marco Rubio, who said that we became aware that Israel was going to attack Iran. And since we knew that if Israel attacked Iran, Iran would attack us, we had to preempt that by attacking along with Israel. Does that make any sense?
No.
None. And yet, and that's why they didn't like to hear it repeated. But of course, it's been repeated all over the podcast world. But it doesn't really register with the American people generally. They don't hear it, or else they don't really understand it. And then, the real concern is World War III in the offing here? Are we going to get into a World War III? Because that would be, that would just be terrible. I mean, there's no word for it. It's the end of everything.
It is, yeah. It'll be the end of us.
Yeah.
All of us. Yeah.
But there are people apparently that want that to happen. And that's hard for people to believe. But there are,
What is that? Some kind of suicidal wish?
No, they've got their plans. They've got their bases underground. They've got their spaceships. They've got, they're all fine. They're going to be fine. They just want to get rid of the rest of us so that they can have everything.
Well, I don't think living underground is fine. I don't think living on a spaceship
2 years. They have it all mapped out. It's like it's going to be 2 years, and then they can come out.
And everything will be fine?
Well, they'll fix it.
No.
This is what the phoenix does, out of chaos rises the phoenix
rise
bird.
From the ashes.
And, then you have a whole new world. It's, that's imperial policy from day one. If you can make a profit by destroying things, then go ahead and destroy them. People don't. I sense your skepticism that people really want to have a nuclear war, but they do. And there's been people that wanted to all along, like the crazy generals in 7 Days in May, and Dr. Strangelove. They wanted to do the nukes in order to establish once and for all that they are the king of the hill, and there's no competition. And that's part of what drives our policy right now is the desire to say, we are the toughest kid on the block, and you better not mess with us because,
Exactly.
there are consequences.
Yeah. It's letting everybody know who is the meanest bully in the playground. So we have some hellos here. We have Paula here saying hi. Hi, Paula. Thank you for joining us. And Corky is here. Corky says the goal is the redirect of the entire world toward an increase of peace. Okay.
And there is Jerome Brown, who is our very, very good friend from the Netherlands, and we wish him well. His name is Jeroen, and I looked it up, and I think it's pronounced like Jeroen or something like that. Just from reading the text, I haven't heard it pronounced, but
okay. Well, he says, "Good day, everyone. Love in spite of all the issues."
Yeah. And the same to you.
Exactly. That's the thing that we have to remember is that, I can't even say it. Today is going to be my peaceful day. It's so hard to say when there is not peace in a lot of places over there and people are sitting around waiting for bombs to fall.
Yeah. And we don't know what the plan is. It's really disturbing to see them take on this idea that they can just go in and bomb Iran for 3 or 4 days and then topple them to leadership and they will own it.
Right.
And that's what they were selling us.
Yeah.
They were selling, just give us a couple days, no sweat. We've got this. Look what we did to Maduro. Don't worry. But people that understand, what Iran, is no Venezuela by far. It's a very powerful, and the issue that they keep trying to raise is that the people are unhappy, that the people hate their government, and they are just waiting for an opportunity to rise up. Boy, how many stories have been made, built on that theory that is never really true. And what we're looking at now is, the people seem to be still supporting the government.
Depends on who you read and what you read and where you read it. It's hard to know for sure because everybody's going to put their spin on it.
Yeah. Oh, look, I got a good grade on my pronunciation of Jeroen.
Yes, correct. Yeah, you read about people who are saying this is a good thing. You read about people who are saying this isn't a good thing. It's unclear who's in charge at this point, but the government is still of Iran is still in charge.
Yeah,
they haven't been replaced.
They have a chain of command that is intact, and obviously they had planned all this out to quite an extent. Because they know that they were going to lose the top 50, 60, 100 of their government officials.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that it is a theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Theocracy, which is led by the supreme leader, who is appointed by the council. There's a
council, yeah.
And so, but the idea is to preserve the Islamic faith and to take care of the country. And that in and of itself is like, okay, I'm okay with that. If they want to be Islamic and do that, as long as the people are not suffering and they're comfortable and everything, if that's where their civilization wants to be, it's not a threat to me. But of course, there's always forces, hidden hands behind this and behind the throne and behind the governments. And those hidden hands are very, very active right now in, shaking things up. So we can't just assume that because it's a theocracy that it has theocratic values, or that it assumes the values that I just kind of tried to enunciate on behalf of the people of Iran. Because, as we studied here on the show this week, the Iranian Ayatollahs, the first one, Khomeini, was basically installed by the British when they got sick and tired of the Shah.
Right.
And nobody looks at it that way. Nobody knows that.
No,
You know,
of course not, because that's
everybody
not the story that gets told.
No, American media is like, oh, the students rose up and they took over the embassy, you know, and they're unhappy because, you know, they have bad lives and corrupt government, and who can blame them, you know? But it was all manufactured, just like the Mossadegh thing was manufactured when they put the Shah in 53. These things they have renta armies, renta crowds, you know, and in this case, it was the Muslim Brotherhood, which was created in the World War II by British intelligence so that they could have some, you know, thugs to take care of business when they couldn't do it themselves or didn't want to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the ones that went out and rallied against Mossadegh and supported the Shah's coup in 53. But then when they got sick and tired of the Shah, this was in 61, 62, they tried to do a coup on him, but he was ahead of them and it failed. It wasn't until, what was it, 79, I think.
79, yeah.
That the actual coup happened. And, you know, that again has so many layers to it because of the October surprise and, you know, the fight between Reagan and Jimmy Carter, but also the Desert One disaster, which is really close to my story because it was Leroy Manor who wrote the after-action report of that, and that was my dad's last boss at Saxa.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I was talking about trying to wrap my arms around all of this at once, and it's just not possible.
Well, let's see what Brightmore's here and says, despite Trump's assertion of an ammunition war chest, U.S. just used prohibited PRISM missiles on Iran. I know nothing about that.
No, I don't either.
And claims of cluster bombs used by Iran in Tel Aviv. Bibi has prohibited the dissemination of attacks, damage on social media.
The dissemination of video of the attacks or images.
Oh, got it.
But
Okay.
the cluster bomb is real.
Yeah.
I've seen the video. Have you seen the video?
Mm-mm.
Oh God! I mean, can you imagine? You know, these are like cluster bombs that come out of a missile. So it's like the missile. I think it goes way up high, then it comes down, and at about the 7-mile altitude, the nose cone opens up, and it splits up into like 20 or so little bombs. And these guys just fall wherever. But it's like having, you know, some of them go off, some of them don't go off. It destroys the territory that it falls on because of the number of these explosions.
Right.
And doing it in the middle of a city, you know, Tel Aviv. They hit Tel Aviv with it. It's not any worse than what we're doing to Tehran. I'll tell you, we are flattening that place with no conscience whatsoever.
Yeah. Corky says, break the hidden hand syndrome. Take a new hand that seeks a greater pro humana.
You know, that's the great mission of Harley Schlanger and his friends at the Schiller Institute and the LaRouche Org, because his latest essay, which is so good about Epstein, it really it really describes what the fight is in terms of human values, in that the people that are running things right now do not have human values. I heard the phrase yesterday of that from the Zionist point of view, or from the Chabad point of view, goyim, that means non-Jews,
Mm-hmm.
have animal souls. They don't have human souls. They don't have souls like we do, which makes them, easy to
Right.
genocide. And that, we've seen video of them doing it. It's unbelievable, but that's what the Nazis did in World War II.
Right.
Absolutely what they did. So this is the fight: is, are we humans, and are we human enough to stop this anti-human power that has taken over our governments?
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd to think that any human is less human than another, but then, that leads me to think about Orwell. Brightmore says Trump just planted seeds of domestic terrorism events being possible in the U.S. as Iran war continues. Oh, that's nice. Brightmore goes on to say, good time to keep your eyes open outdoors and at large events. The mass shooting by a Senegalese in Austin who happened to wear an Iran t-shirt smells like a false flag. Doesn't seem to have shocked ...
Americans enough.
And yeah, it's just for some reason not letting me. Yeah. Can you click on that? I can't. It's not letting me.
Americans enough. Maybe a bigger and more public false flag is in order to sell Trump and Bibi's quagmire.
Oh, there's a chilling thought.
Well, yeah, you know, we haven't unpackaged 9/11 yet. That was clearly a false flag. And what people that do those things, they're still in business.
Well, yeah.
So
makes me not want to go anywhere or go outside, or certainly not attend any big events.
Well, if you remember, I mean, that was during the Biden administration, where people on the conservative side were very, very much up in arms about all of these military age Chinese or Latin American or other guys coming in, not with families, not with women or children, but just a busload of 20-something guys coming in. And where are they going to end up? And you think about those guys as sleeper cells. And clearly, if you're an enemy of the United States, you want to have sleeper cells in the U.S. Certainly, Israel would have them, and
sure,
they're suitcase nukes sitting around in all kinds of places we don't know about. I'm sorry to say, but there is blackmail as a very powerful weapon of war. Corky says false flags need to be ended, and I say the only way to end this stuff is to unpack the John F. Kennedy assassination, because that's where the people lost their power to the shadow government that hides behind the walls.
I think that this is where the problem is. I think that so much of what happens, people allow to happen, we allow to happen, because we think that we are being told the truth. Just way too many people believe that we are being told the truth about everything, not just about war and politics, but everything. And there's so many lies that we are being told. about what goes on in the government and who's in control and, even how laws are made, and it's just crazy. It's, you know, people have to recognize that we're not being told the truth. That's the first step. Once that happens, then we can start trying to unravel it all. But it's just too many people out there who turn on the nightly news because they think it's going to keep them informed, when it's really just keeping them brainwashed.
And it is so pervasive and subtle that anything that challenges what you hear on the news makes you uncomfortable. And that uncomfort, that discomfort of is kind of uh, like, if that's true, then my whole world is in danger. The way that I see my life is all comes into question, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like if you were living in Dubai and, tax free, making $1 million a year, having all the servants and services that you want, and it's all just great. And you just can't imagine that it would ever not be that great. And then, boom, here comes a bunch of Iranian missiles and drones and stuff. And suddenly, the security that you thought you had is gone. It's completely gone. Um, and they can't even get out of the country now. The airport's closed.
Right.
Everything. So I'm just using that as an example of saying nobody wants to believe that. Nobody in Dubai ever really wanted to confront the idea of, wait a minute, if Israel and Iran go to war, we're going to get hit. I don't know that to be a fact, but that's just, I think, human nature is to just not want to believe that these horrible things are going on. That's the trouble with Epstein, the Epstein story. It's only political. It's only valuable to Democrats if they can catch Trump, and it's only valuable to Republicans if they can catch Clintons and Democrats.
Mhm.
It's just used as politics, as opposed to doing what Corky says. Let's get past these false impressions and look at the real problem. So, but they're very good at keeping us both divided and basically contented. So that, yeah, as long as I live in my conservative world or my liberal world or my libertarian world or my socialist world or whatever it is that I'm in, I'm comfortable. And, I know people that are just like me, and we all sing the same songs and we all say the same thing whenever Trump's on TV, and it's comfortable. And they don't want to lose that sense of community and comfort.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't wanna see that there's evil around them and that there are agendas, hidden agendas. Or the other side of it, they think that everybody has an agenda and I've gotta go fight it and I've gotta, come out and send letters to my congressperson and senator and all of that because it's gonna make a difference. It's not gonna make a difference. Where are you?
Well, I was just scrolling back to see what I've missed.
Oh, I see. Oh, I hadn't seen this. Brightmore says, comical that in the wake of Iran saying it will not negotiate with the U.S., Trump declares today that he will only accept unconditional surrender from Iran. Okay.
Yeah, man. Unconditional surrender Trump. That's who he wants to be known as. And those Iranians whose leadership they have supposedly decapitated are supposed to wave the white flag. Whose hand is going to hold the white flag if you decapitate all the leadership? They they have grossly mismanaged what's going on so far. I haven't made any I haven't issued an opinion yet, but here it is, six days later, and I'm telling you, they are screwing up really bad. this is not going according to any plan. They lost 5 F-15s this week, 5 of them. That's not good planning. That's a really bad sign. And
I don't know. I would think that there is an expectation that there's going to be some losses of both life and equipment.
maybe so, but nobody told us we were going to lose 5 F-15s in 5 days. I think it's
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Okay. I believe some of those F-15s were lost in friendly fire.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It was awful. I mean, that's not good planning.
No, but come on. I mean, in life, things don't go as planned. I can't imagine in war it's always going to go as planned. You're going to have some chaos. What do they call it? The fog of war.
Well, yeah, it's a little different from what they thought they were going to get, though. They thought this would be over by now. They really did. This is 6 days in. They thought 4 days.
Well, they're saying 8 weeks now. They even went from.
Oh, they're going to September now.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Garden Girl says they keep calling this Trump's war. It's actually Bibi's. Time to turn this over to him and his grand Middle East scheme. Enough. And there we go. And then Huffman Aviation says, drop the Trump tower. He'd go balls to the wall then.
I think he already is.
Yeah, that's true. Brightmore says, foreign contractors are patrolling Gaza while the IDF rides along with Uncle Sam. Recent report of contractors gunning down Gazans attempting to get food and aid. Sheesh.
Yeah, thank you for the report from Gaza, because it doesn't hit the front page anymore, and people are all, looking at the Middle East. I mean, at the Iran war, as opposed to the horror that, yeah, sure, they ended the war, they had a truce, but no, they're still killing people, and using contractors is just awful, because that's Eric Prince and those.
Here's an interesting point from Brightmore. From Fort Sumter to Pearl Harbor to the Tonkin Gulf to the burning of the Reichstag to the LIHOP October 7 attack, false flags aren't exactly a new thing. That's a nice list there, Brightmore, of all of those things that basically get us rallied to come together to fight. I mean, remember right after September 11th, how there was no hesitation whatsoever for us to take action and do something.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I was studying. I was in the middle of my law practice, and just I didn't have time to study things like Iraq and all.
Right.
I knew a little bit, but all of a sudden that was a very fishy invasion.
Mm-hmm. Huffman Aviation says, too many people are worrying about choosing between eating or heating to care here in England. Ooh, that's a shame. But I think that, there is some of that happening here as well. People are struggling financially.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
We never know what's going on in somebody else's country, or even really other parts of our country, unless you talk to somebody there. So thanks for the report. And yeah, I mean, England has never, ever been able to feed itself since, about, whenever England was founded. And they're completely dependent on imports. When this oil and natural gas gets shut down, I mean, it's going to be bad. I mean, it's already. I was just going to highlight the stock market is going down a lot today, like 700 points
Wow.
on the Dow.
Wow.
and it's off more than that for the week. And I think really the stock market has just been sitting on the sidelines waiting to see if Trump can pull this off in 4 or 5 days. But now they're talking about it's going to be a long war. Well, that means there's going to be hardship, especially if you're dependent on oil and gas. So, and that's Europe, you know.
Well, and I didn't realize the gas issue. We keep talking about oil, and we know about oil from the Middle East or Southwest Asia, whichever designation you want to use. But I was reading this morning about Qatar being one of the few sources in that part of the world of liquefied natural gas. And natural gas, many, many, many countries rely on Qatar for getting natural gas. And that their natural gas plant got hit. And so they are no longer exporting and have announced they're not going to be able to fulfill any orders for natural gas. And of course, you talk about the ships at the Strait of Hormuz that can't go through, and about half of those 1,000 ships that are just idling have oil or natural gas. So that's going to become an issue as well.
The ships in the Persian Gulf that have already loaded up but can't get out because of the Iranian control of the Straits of Hormuz are represent billions and billions of dollars. And as I've learned, the oil on there was paid for by the purchasers months ago. To purchase oil on a ship like
that makes sense.
You have to do the contracts,
Mhm.
way in advance. So the money has already changed hands. The oil providers have got the money, but the people that bought the oil don't have the oil or the gas. And this is billions of dollars worth of very much relied upon energy resources that countries all over the place, especially in Asia, like China and Japan, which don't have their own oil
and gas,
and oil and gas.
Well, they're going to have to go back to coal, and that's one of the things that's going to happen everywhere. Is if they can't get the oil and gas, they have to go back to coal, and we're going to increase coal burning all around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the oil is going to be so expensive, and then re-gearing up the coal plants won't be immediate either. It just looks bad. If this war doesn't end soon, then this energy crisis is going to be 10 times worse than 72 or whenever it was with OPEC's oil price war.
A couple of comments about the Epstein thing. Ms. Hunt, we'll just go with Ms. Hunt says, us Gen Xers know the creepy Clinton era men
Predated,
okay, thank you, upon us since we were young turns. And I got to tell you, Ms. Hunt, creepy men have been predating on young women since the beginning of time, and they still do. Garden Girl says, Epstein, the great distraction. However, we should be discussing escape keys findings. That's the real story. And I don't know what that's all about. Do you? I know you follow Escape Key.
Yes, I do, but I haven't read his most recent work. He's so prolific, he or she. It's called Escape Key. It's a Substack that also you can, the only place I know to see it is on Substack. So, and it's ESC_KEY. And the actual title of his blog is The Price of Liberty is Eternal Vigilance. So it's really worthwhile studying it. I did a Minefields on the show about 2 months ago, which you can find in my archives on all my channels. And to introduce you to this person who's just organized things so well and so compellingly. Really starting with things like the Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger's Special Studies Unit, and bringing that stuff to present time, which is the psychological and economic molding of humanity by these people who, you know, work at Harvard or in DARPA, you know, in the places where they make long-term deep plans for us without our permission. So yeah, I need to get back to Escape Key and catch up on what he or she has been writing lately.
Prester John says what the U.S. and Israel is doing is criminal from the standpoint of international law. Well, and there is, you know, of course, the question of national as well, since, you know, once again, president is going to war without getting Congress's permission. And Congress is fine with that, apparently.
Yeah, because they're all blackmailed. This is what we've lost. We've lost the connection between the Congress and the people. They're now working for entities like AIPAC, others that
AIPAC for sure
have acquired power over these representatives one way or another. And this has been, again, if we could unpack the Kennedy assassination and get back to American values, you know, what the Schiller folks call the American system of economics. But I just say what American values traditionally have been the golden rule. You know, that's what I think we are. We're moral. We are moral people. And, you know, it's been said that the Constitution is written for a moral people and it won't work for other kinds of people. We have to be.
Well, we have to be. We need to be. And, you know, the truth is, I think we are. What we aren't is aware of the immorality of our leaders. People who are elected to national positions, Congress, Senate, you know, House of Representatives, the Senate, certainly the executive branch, they sold their souls a long time ago. To get to that kind of position, you have to sell your soul to the devil. Even locally, you know, once you get into politics, very soon you're being controlled by the party. And you have to start making compromises. And the next thing you know, you are indebted to them, or you're being blackmailed, or a little bit of both. And so to continue rising, you have to go along with the plan. You have to play the game. And I think people really keep looking to leaders to find strong, good leaders. But by the time these leaders are in front of them, they've sold their souls.
Look at Keir Starmer for an example. You know, the guy is a limp noodle of a human. A guy who just was raised in this atmosphere of what I think I'm going to start calling the Epstein class. The Epstein class is the people that are willing to be immoral and even inhuman in order to maintain their status or to achieve some status that they wish to have. It's, you know, it's a Faustian bargain, but it's combined with threats too. It's not just, you know, just an open exchange. It's like, you're going to get on the Lolita Express tonight at 7:00. You're going to go down to the island. You're going to have a good time and come back. That's what your plan is. Have a nice time. Here's your ticket. And you got to get on the plane.
Yeah, and all these guys who say they never went to the island. Bullshit. There, I said it.
All right.
Garden Girl says, speaking of Congress, the U.S. House just voted 357 to 65 to block release of congressional sexual misconduct reports.
Yeah.
Our tax dollars are used to pay off those harmed. Release the names.
There's a slush fund in Congress of hundreds of thousands of dollars that just sits there in order to, pay off these claims, settle them out of the public eye. And somebody filed a bill to disclose who were the people that were the beneficiaries of this slush fund, and the Congress resoundingly said, no, we're not going to disclose.
It's just, well,
Who was it said last week? I think it was Diane Sayre in her comments when I was watching her last week in her State of the Union,
Right.
quote unquote, and she said, how about we just bar anybody that's ever been to the Epstein Island from government? That would be a start. Of course, you got to include the Zorro Ranch and all the other stuff, but anybody that's
Of course.
been to one of Epstein's retreats, just automatically out. You got to go. I think it could do a lot of good.
Corky says, astonishing hypocrisy. The jig is up, about pants down. Yes. Yes. Wait, what's this? Brightmore says, maybe it's just Brightmore whose comments I'm having trouble clicking on. Can't figure out what the problem is here. Sorry, Brightmore. Here we go. Comical that in Trump message to public today, our leader talks about making Iran great again. Nothing to do with countering the popular meme, MEGA. Make Israel great again. Oh, my.
So Harley Schlanger says that Trump is just fallen into a trap set by Netanyahu, and that's how this has happened. And why has it happened? Because the Ayatollah is not playing ball with Netanyahu. And Netanyahu, remember Wesley Clark, the general who, you've probably seen it 100 times a few years ago, where he says that, he had visited CENTCOM and went in and talked to some of the generals there. And he came out and he talks to the reporter and he says, and we're going to take down 7 countries in 5 years. And he named them all. And guess what number 7 is? Iran. We already got the first 5, or the first 6, Egypt, Libya, whatever the rest of them are, Bosnia, all of those countries. And what I'm saying is that this was a plan that comes out of the relationship between the United States and Israel, in which Israel somehow got control of American foreign policy. And the presidents of the United States, and again, I trace this back to the Kennedy assassination, have basically farmed out their foreign policy to Israel and then to a large extent to Great Britain.
I was about to say, how much of that is Great Britain's control over Israel?
And there's all right, you want to know my latest theory?
Please.
Like we said before, they got rid of the Shah because he wasn't cooperating. So they put in this Ayatollah and they enforced, this theocracy of this Shia theocratic government to keep people, in a theocratic state of mind, to not want to do economic development or build power plants or anything, to just keep them in a kind of a quasi medieval state of mind. And that prevents them from developing their own resources, their oil and gas that they have a lot of. So the idea was to keep control over the government through the Ayatollahs. And Ayatollah Khomeini was the first one. When he died in 98, in 1998, they elected,
I think it was 89.
89. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. You're right. 89. And then the council elected Khomeini, Khamenei, who has been the Ayatollah up until he was killed last week. So it makes sense to me that these Ayatollah, the second Ayatollah is just as much a British puppet as the first one was.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, and in fact, he was part of the first Ayatollah's leadership team.
Right.
He was president.
Thank you. So therefore, why is Britain enforcing this Ayatollah regime on Persia, on Iran? And the answer is because they've got enough power to control Israel if Israel gets out of hand. See, if Israel stopped following the British line, the British need to have a means of enforcement to bring them back in line.
Holy cow.
So that's why they would have Iran, this huge country there and building missiles all the time and, either is or is not making a nuclear weapon. I don't think that's important at all. I think that's just a talking point that we hear all the time. They're building nukes. No, they're not. No, it's not just about nukes. It's about the control of the government. And that control allows them to control secretly, hidden hand, controlling Israel, or at least setting boundaries as much as of what Israel is going to do. All along, like people like Ben Gurion have resented the British, and they've wanted to break away from that British yoke.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I think that Netanyahu represents. Listen, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just giving you my latest idea. And my latest idea is that Netanyahu represents the idea of the Zionist state breaking away from Great Britain, and in order to do that, making an alliance with the United States, so that now the U.S. and Israel's destiny is entwined in this war. And that gives Israel a way to get away from the British power if they can just defeat the Iranian government and take away their missiles and other weaponry. And that does give them greater Israel. The countries that they've already flipped, like Egypt, and of course Jordan, which has been flipped a long time. These Arab countries that work with the West. So that's my theory, that Israel is trying to get out from under the yoke that was imposed by the British in the coup in 1953, and of course, ever since the first Anglo-Persian oil company deal back in 1903 or 1908.
So by going to war with Iran, in a very indirect way, we're going to war with Britain.
Yes. And
wow.
And that's what,
wow.
That is what the Promethean Action ladies are saying. And this is what is such an interesting divide between the original LaRouche people like Harley Schlanger and Helga LaRouche and
mm-hmm.
And Diane Sayre and the other folks there who are just appalled at the idea that Netanyahu can do this, can pull the United States into what is really a war for their benefit and nobody else's, and it's going to cost billions of trillions of dollars. On the other hand, we have the Promethean Action ladies who have been very pro-Trump ever since they broke away from LaRouche.
Mm-hmm.
But they are just saying, "Oh well, you see, this is the last bastion of British power is the mullahs, with the ayatollahs. Once we get rid of the ayatollahs, then that breaks the back of the British Empire, because at that point, if they're gone, then Iran can develop their own oil. Another 10 billion barrels a day of oil in the world would be a good thing right now." And keep the oil prices low. It's oil politics really on top of everything else. So, well, for what it's worth, I don't know if it's worth anything at all, but that's my latest thinking.
Very interesting. Very interesting. This is a name I've not seen before. Dolores Lopez. Hello, Dolores. Dolores says, Iran used to look like Americans. They have taken Iran back to the dark ages. Thank you. I think that that's part of the discussion too.
Yeah.
Let women have rights again. Iranian people are very nice people. I met a couple of men from Iran. Very nice, helpful. Agreed. Absolutely. And, women have had their rights taken away.
Yeah.
And, their lives are much less rich and full. And I don't mean rich in money. I mean rich in experience and everything else, because they are very much second-class citizens again.
And doesn't that reinforce what I'm saying, that the imposition of this theocracy keeps the people from developing in so many ways, such as, if you have to wear certain clothing all the time, if you can only be exposed to so many books or things like
Right.
that.
Not allowed to go to school.
Yeah. Then you're going to not be that genius that could have solved a huge problem for humanity.
Right.
Nor are you going to help build, you're not going to be an engineer to help build a more efficient energy supply for your country. And neither are the guys that end up in the madrasas. And of course, that's Sunni. But in studying with a cleric instead of studying with a real technical background, and so that's I agree with what you're saying, and thank you for your personal comments about that. I know a few people from that area very well, and of course, they're wonderful people. Things that people say about Muslims in general or any of that stuff, it's just ignorance and very regrettable, because it's the powers at the top and the hidden hands behind them. That's the enemy. I like it's put this way: the fight is not left against right; it's bottom against top.
Right. Yes, that's it exactly.
And that's where people, they keep us spinning us on left versus right all the time, and most people don't have enough time to devote to thinking about it to realize that no, that's just their means of control.
Right. Prester John says the U.S. has always fostered religious theocracies across the Middle East to prevent secular progressive governments.
Said it better than I did.
And Huffman Aviation says it's the capital that enable it you should be directing your anger at.
Yeah.
There is truth there. I mean, the capital that enables so much of what goes on is completely hidden.
It's and this is just the product of my studying this for about 8 years now. It's very, very firm opinion that the capital has been amassed into the hands of what I call the empire for so long that they have the hugest amount of capital that anybody could imagine. And any problem in the world that could pop up, if they just throw enough of their money at it, it'll go away. That's where they're at right now. It is not simply you spent your capital this way and you spent your capital bad and you spent your capital good. No, This fractional reserve banking that's been going on for 400 years now has just driven all the real value into the deep pockets of the ancient families, the oligarchs, and the banking system, and the Rothschilds, and all of that represents an empire that has so much money that it can do whatever it wants, and that is what we have to recognize is that it's not just, General Motors threw their money at making a certain horrible bomb or something like that. All these things are happening because of the pressure of that empire to gather in more and more and more of everything until it has complete control over the world. That's my firm opinion.
Banjo Loon calls it stolen wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, only 2 minutes left. I thought we just got started.
I know. It goes very quickly, doesn't it? I want to end on a happy note.
Jerome says, truth, the only excuse, love as the future foundation. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we dreamed about when we were in college and going through the 60s and 70s, we saw all this horrible stuff, from Kent State and the Vietnam War generally, and riots and the racism and the murders of our leaders, and all of that stuff.
Right.
All of us came out of it generally with an attitude of the future has got to be peace. It just has to be. And the science that we have now is such that there should not be any hunger anywhere. There should not be anybody going around
There should not be
without
suffering of
clothes
any kind.
or a basic education. There's
Right.
no excuse for it except for greed and the ancient fear that wealthy people have of getting, the mob finally gets through the gates and off with their heads. They're afraid. I wouldn't want to be a Rothschild. I'd be afraid. I wouldn't want to be a Rockefeller.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be either, because I wouldn't want to be so evil. But
no, that's right.
I'm not convinced they're afraid. I think that they think they are danger proof.
And so far, it looks like they are. But
yeah,
we keep talking. We keep talking about it, folks. You guys, talk about it. We are in a very small minority here at McDuff Lives, and the number of other podcasters that are trying to raise consciousness. And it's going to take a lot of people talking to people. We got to get back into the idea of going to the pub or going to a community event, like maybe playing bingo, or doing things where you can just chat with people and then bring this into the chat, because it's going to take the whole country to rise up, in not with guns or anything, but to rise up in a moral sense and say, we don't like the Epstein class. You guys are excluded from our lives and our government. Go sip mojitos in Madagascar. We don't care where you go. Just get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, but first we have to help the people around us recognize the truth and recognize what's going on here. And remember to set our clocks forward.
All right. I'll try to remember that.
On Sunday.
Okay, guys. Happy spring and happy
Yes.
St. Patty's Day coming up. I always enjoy singing a song or two. Maybe we'll do that on the show. Is that next week?
Yeah. Well, St. Patty's Day is a week and a half away, but next Friday is the last Friday before St. Patty's Day. So yeah, maybe a song.
I think we ought to do it.
We should think about that.
All right. Everyone, thank you so much. Sorry we didn't get to everyone's comments. It's always a pleasure, and I will read them all after the show.
Thanks, everyone.